get started. Make sure we have our CenturyLink team here.
I'm not seeing her yet.
All right, well, we will give it just 2 more minutes. And in the meantime, please go ahead and register your attendance. Daryl has the link in chat. And when you click on that link, it'll take you to the page he's displaying right now. And at the top there where it says sign in, you just click the little sign in area, put down your name and what agency authority you are representing. And that would be a great way for us to track your attendance. All right, it is 10:02, so we are going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Again, everyone, thank you for getting on. Our first item on the agenda is our roll call and introductions, and we don't go around the room and do introductions. Our roll call is taken by signing in. So again, you click the sign in either on the agenda in the link that Daryl has put in chat, and that way we can record your attendance on the call. So the next item we have is our project update. Cindy, I did see you get on line, so hopefully your audio is good. I know we sometimes struggle with that. So are you able to hear us okay?
Yes, I am. Thank you.
Okay, great. So what we're going to do now is go through and give a project update in the status of the installs and the schedule. Cindy, we have the tracker from Monday's call that Daryl is displaying now. So I know it's not current to some of the changes this week, but if we want to just start with the status of the installs, that would be great.
Great. So we did test San Miguel Monday. It's only Wednesday, right? Monday. We ran into a issue on the ring no answer abandoned call. I should say, not ring no answer. Got through all of our other testing, but for some reason on the ring no answer testing from a wireline call, and even when the call person hung up to trigger that abandoned call feature, it would continue to ring and then it would route advance when they didn't answer it to their alternate route, even though no one was on the line. And only on wireline calls, not on wireless calls. Wireless calls acted like normal. When the caller hung up, it went into their abandoned call queue and stopped ringing. So we're investigating that issue at San Miguel, and I do have a trouble ticket open on that to look at SS7 to see if there's something there that is causing that to continue to ring after the caller hangs up. Because that is definitely not what we would expect in this environment. And we don't want all the abandoned calls from San Miguel to be routed over to Wesco.
No, right. I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate that. So, and I'm assuming this is mainly Lumen Resources that are working on this, or do you have Intrado engaged, or are you in the need of Motorola resources as well?
Right now, I think we're looking at it from central office SS7. But I'll engage those guys if needed, and they're both aware of the issue from the testing on Monday.
Okay.
But that is the only issue we ran into. Everything else was good. We've got Allie converted over at the site. We just need to figure out what's going on with that wireline caller hang-up test case.
Okay. Great, thank you. And then the next piece up, Lake County, that migrated. So
Yes,
that'll be
we
moved.
migrated yesterday. Yep.
Okay, perfect. And do you have any open items for Lake County?
The call recorders, they didn't have, they do line recording and they don't have SIP line recorders. So I believe Motorola was working with them on a temporary solution and they have short-term recording right now, but they don't have long-term, and they need to get that issue resolved with Motorola and team.
Okay, and I did see that Mandy raised her hand. Mandy, did you have a question about San Miguel?
Well, yes, perhaps question, maybe comment. And I don't know if anybody from the San Miguel PSAP is on or not, but the routing of 911 calls for San Miguel is unique in that in the areas where, in unincorporated areas where the Telluride Fire Protection District serves, instead of initially following law enforcement, those calls actually follow life safety and come to Wesco first. So those are those jurisdictions where we dispatch fire EMS, but San Miguel County dispatches law. And we are supposed to get those calls first if they're in the Telluride district. But then there's other ESNs within San Miguel County on the west side, the further west you go in San Miguel County, where San Miguel County Sheriff dispatches both fire EMS and law. And so all those go. And I don't know if those unique routing trees could potentially be part of why there's an abandoned call issue. Having said that, if their abandoned calls are going to go anywhere, I think we'd all agree they should come to Wesco if you can't figure out why they're not getting to San Miguel County, Wesco is the most appropriate place for those to go.
Well, and I think they ring to San Miguel first, but because we were trying to test the abandoned call, they weren't answering them. So when they didn't answer them, they triggered the ring no answer timer. So if they picked them up, I don't think that would happen. We're just trying to figure out why they're continuing to ring after the caller hangs up. Since it's a direct SIP implementation, the ring until answer feature shouldn't exist anymore.
So did they just ring until you guys, in your test calls, did they continue to ring until you guys hung up? It didn't hit like a trigger point where they rolled to us here at Wesco?
It did. Actually, we would hang up and the phone would keep ringing. And after they asked to have their timer set to 30 seconds. So it would, after 30 seconds, try the other side, and then it would roll to you. And you guys were getting basically empty line calls because we had hung up a minute ago, but it kept ringing and then routed to you.
Okay, thank you.
And Cindy, do you have any concerns about their ESNs and ESN perhaps contributing to this? It sounds to me more like a central office or a net issue versus an ESN routing issue.
Yeah, we think someone mentioned there might be a call hold feature or something in a central office that might be causing this. So that's the direction we're looking at right now. We don't really mess with the ESNs. We just repoint them to the ESInet. So that shouldn't be the issue, but it's definitely good to know. And I'll keep a note of that if we don't find the issue here today.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, so we are on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying we're at SUPD Southern Youth Tribal today. My other ear is actually listening to their testing right now.
Okay, great.
So all that.
And so far, everything is going as expected?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then Rocky Ford.
Rocky Ford, I think I had a request this morning to push their testing out to the 17th. So we're looking at that with Entrado. But it looks like that'll probably get moved out to the 17th.
Is there a reason why testing needs to get moved for Rocky Ford?
I haven't had a chance to ask yet. I just have the email. Let me pull that up because it's got a few.
My understanding is that impacts another piece up. Is that correct?
Well, La Junta actually still needs additional hardware, so that might be why they want to move Rocky forward. So the notes I have from Motorola right now, if we want to run through those. Grandin route or pending upgrade. Looks like it's scheduled for tomorrow. Los Animas backup, and La Junta need additional hardware, so we need to reschedule those. And Rocky Ford, they're requesting we reschedule to the 17th.
And these requests are from Motorola, not from the PSAPs. And it's due to upgrades and hardware.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, do we have Jeff on today with Motorola? I'm not seeing him. Okay, have you followed up with Motorola? I mean, obviously these dates have been pushed and pushed again, and there's no surprise that of what was needed. So I'm confused on why we're gonna have to wait again and move these dates for hardware.
No, and I got the email this morning, so I will follow up with him today. Because I thought the Grandin route work was going on last week.
That was my understanding as well.
And that Grand was ready, and it was only route that he did.
And since we don't have Jeff on today, the PSAPs either, I guess, from Grand or Route, are you up to speed on what's going on with your CPEs?
This is Jeff from Grand. We did an upgrade last week, so we should be all ready. I know Rat was doing an upgrade currently as we speak, upgrading some firewall equipment. I believe they'll be ready after this update today.
Great, thanks, Jeff. So Cindy, hopefully the dates will, for at least those two, will be able to stay intact.
Yeah, because we've got them at the end of the month. So if you guys have your upgrades, we should still be okay with those dates then.
Okay, and then overall from the ones that are scheduled outside of the Motorola updates, do you have any other concerns that you're trying to work through or that could slip those dates?
I believe just the open issues with Rangeley on our, and I'll need to check in with Nancy to see if she has an update on that one.
Okay, and Cindy, you're fading out just a little bit.
Sorry.
It's okay.
I was looking the wrong direction. Just the open item that I had on Rangeley regarding power, I need to check in with Nancy and see if that's been closed out yet.
Do we have anybody on from Rangeley? Okay, Cindy, if you can let us know what you find out, that would be great.
Yeah.
And then the PSAPs that are in the to be determined field, do we have status or dates that you're working towards for those four?
Not yet. I think Pitkin, we're waiting on final confirmation that the issues at Vail are fully resolved, and we're working with Vincent. He's going to, I think, try and remote into their system and just verify all the configs and interfaces with the Avaya look correct, and they wouldn't have the issues we saw at Vail. Vail is ready to cut. Once we do that, we've completed pre-migration, or sorry, Aspen. We've completed pre-migration testing at Aspen.
Do you have any idea when Vincent's going to be able to complete that work for Brett?
We were talking about it yesterday. I think he's planning to do it this week, but I'll get you a more specific date.
Okay. And then
the other three are a variety of site access to get circuits installed. And Buckley's still working through pinning down the addresses on where the circuits are. We've had 3 or 4 different addresses on where those circuits should be ordered to. So Vincent's actually going to go out there, I believe, and see if we can't push this Buckley circuit issue through. The other 2, we haven't been able to get access due to COVID lockdown to complete the site survey and install the circuits. But
Okay.
we'll keep pushing through that.
Sounds great. Any of the PSAPS authorities that are on the line that have not migrated, do you have any questions or concerns about the status of your project? Or any updates that you want to provide that we didn't cover? Okay, I guess the good news is that we do have an end in sight on the migrations, and it looks like it's going to hopefully be this month, pending those few that are in the to be determined status. So that's fantastic news.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the old business. And that's an update on the issues that we're tracking. So on the spreadsheet, we have the issues that are open. And I did have one other item that we wanted to add on there, and that was a request from Grand Junction. But we will start up on the no record found issue. If you want to just kind of go through the list and give us an update, Cindy.
Yeah, the no record found, we had a ticket open, but there was no additional information on it. So Vicki was attempting to track down that. We haven't had any additional reports other than it looked like they were spam calls into Pueblo County.
Okay, do we have Pueblo County on the phone today?
Yeah, this is Shauna from Pueblo County.
Shauna, have you had any reoccurrence or do you have any updates on this issue?
We have not had any reoccurrence, and I know that they had initially said spam, but that one was from, like we talked about before, Rocky Mountain Poison Center. So the other ones could have been spam, but that one she identified herself, and that's where she was calling from. So I don't think that one was spam, but we haven't had any since then.
Great, thanks, Shauna. Cindy, what would you like to do with this, or what other information do you need to be able to look at that?
I think we've got the information. So we're just following up with the NOC to see if we can't get the records, our records and the auto records on these. Because I'm wondering if we just didn't get an alley bid for some reason, and that caused the no record found. And the only reason I want to know more is because a true no record found should not have routed to Pueblo County. A no record found on the ESInet would go to the default route, which at that time was Aurora, and now it would be Colorado Springs PD. So I just want to do a little bit more research to find out if we just never received the alley bid, so they saw no record found. It concerns me if a no record found actually routed to them.
Okay, well, we'll keep it open then as an item until you're able to try and get that record and figure out what happened with it.
Yeah.
Do you need anything else from the PSAP?
No, we've got all the information. Thank you.
Okay, our never-ending saga with the migration for the alley at the Douglas County PSAPs and Fremont. Do we have an update on this so we can get this done and closed out?
So we went, and I don't know if Nancy updated you on Monday. We did attempt this again, and we got the links up at Douglas and the C1 Data Center, but we were only receiving bids on one side, and we could never get bids on both links. And we ran out of time in our test window to resolve that window, and they also want to put links in at Parker and Castle Rock as well. And we didn't have time for the folks that were at the Douglas County site to drive to those sites. So we're looking, and I'm working with Entrado to find a time where we can grab a much larger test window so that hopefully we can work through all these issues. I've asked for all day, but 4 hours maybe the most I can get. We had 2 hours on this last window, but I'm doing my best to get somewhere between 4 and 8 hours, just so that we have plenty of time to, with the sysadmins on, to
So
work
Cindy,
through.
I'm a bit confused. So I want to just kind of break this down. For the LE link that was installed and for the testing, it's one-sided. It was a one-sided result. So we have an issue that needs to be worked through. Is that correct? And that
Well, we moved it all back. So they're back to
Right.
their legacy, yeah.
You had to roll it back, but when you were testing, it was one-sided at Douglas County. So there's an issue that needs to be resolved.
Yeah.
And is that issue with Converge One and on the Viper side? Is it with Intrado? Is it with Lumen? Or is it all three of you?
I think it's on the Viper side somewhere. The links were up. We were not getting bids. So we could see heartbeats and both links were in service, but they were only bidding on one.
Okay.
We could never get, yeah.
And then the other issue that you were discussing is that they want to install new LA links at Castle Rock and Parker.
Yes.
Okay, and those are not currently installed, and they decided they want to install new LA links there. Is that correct?
I think that's been the plan for a few months now. They currently, since all three sites are running on that hosted Viper, get their alley from those hosted Viper nodes. But now that we have ESInet routers at each site, they want to put, I think, one link at Castle Rock and one link at Parker, which is a little bit out of the norm because we would normally do two, but it gives them more redundancy than they would have now with just the links at Douglas and Douglas County.
Okay, so they're going to have two links at Douglas County, but right now it's in trouble. It only would see one-sided, so you had to roll it back.
Yes.
And then Converge One wants to install one link at Castle Rock and one link at Parker. Do you know if that work is done and the only thing you ran out of was just testing time, or does Converge One still need to complete work?
I believe there's some equipment, but I believe they're ready to go. We just didn't have time to send people. They needed the techs to be able to travel to those sites. So they're also working on their side to have, when we try this again, techs at each site so that we don't have to worry about moving people from one to the other.
Okay. And what's the status of Fremont then? Because Fremont has been looped into this. I understand they're hosted Viper out of Converge One's data center, but are they still on the old LE as well and no testing has taken place to migrate them?
Correct. But they are also working on a Viper upgrade at Fremont. And I think Fremont is going to move off to its own system.
Okay, so they're not going to be hosted any longer from Converge One?
I don't believe so.
So then is Lumen's position not to worry about the LE migration until that upgrade is complete?
More once we get Douglas working. And then Fremont, my understanding talking with Converge One was they were going to leave Fremont, getting Alex through those Douglas connections until that upgrade happened. So they would be moved to the ESInet when Douglas County moved.
Okay. Any of the PSAP representatives from those agencies that are impacted by this LE have any questions or comments or corrections on any of the items that we were just discussing? Okay, well, I think we're tracking that pretty good then. Hopefully you can get that time scheduled and this can get migrated.
Yes.
So the next one is the legacy trunks and the status of taking down the legacy trunks. And,
The end. Vicki, I'll check with Vicki. I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to get an update from her this week. But she was working to have those at least reduced in number so that we could limit the occurrences of these.
Okay, so this is an item that has been impacting several of the PSAPs. So if we could figure out a date or a plan forward to try and get this corrected, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on that item? Okay, so the next three is also something that has been pending for several months, and we just don't seem to be able to make progress on it, and that is this installation for Boulder PD CU and Arapahoe County backup. Do you have a date?
I do not have a date. I do have an email confirming this morning that the pad equipment was shipped, and they are checking to make sure they were received, and will schedule the date for installation. So I'll follow up with Kim this morning and see if she's got that confirmation and can give me those dates. But we do have confirmation that the equipment should be in-house at Entrado, so we can get those dates finally.
Okay. Anybody have any questions or comments on those items? So in the future, Cindy, I know that there were a lot of factors that contributed to delays to get to this point, and we obviously need dates and installation before we can wrap this whole thing up. But in the future, if we had a request like this, is there anything that needs to be done so we can expedite this and not have it be almost a year?
Yes, I can talk with you guys about that. The equipment order itself sounds like it's normally a 6 to 9 week process to order the physical equipment. So I'll work with my team and the Entrado team to see if we can put in place some spares programs so that we have at least 1 or 2 of these in stock. That would shorten that cycle quite a bit.
Okay, great. And I see that Kim had her hand raised. So Kim, go ahead. Oh, she went back on mute. Kim, I don't know if you tried to speak, but we don't hear you. If you want to put the update in chat, hopefully you have dates. That would be fantastic. But if you just want to put it in chat, that would be helpful.
This is Annette Roush. Kim was saying that she's speaking, but she can't seem to be heard. So hopefully she'll put that in the chat, or she can refer it and I'll speak to it.
I have that problem all the time, Kim. If I join on the web, it won't let me talk.
Okay, great. Well, we will circle back for that update. All right, the next item are the critical issues at Vail PD. And just as a summary, since we've got everybody on the call today, their 911 call would ring in on a particular wireless subsession and it couldn't be answered. And it was a true caller coming in, and then the call would roll over to the backup and they also couldn't answer it. So Cindy, do you have an update on the status of this issue?
Yeah, Vincent has been up at the site several times. I think, we've replaced the XFS card. We moved support on the CPM with Entrado's help there. I know Entrado dispatched someone up to the site to look at the equipment. And we were still continuing to see the issue. So Vincent went back up to the site last week and actually just rewired that circuit. And that seems, knock on particle board, to have resolved the issue with being unable to answer that line.
Okay,
Or
and
at least, yeah, as of yesterday, they had not reported any additional.
I believe that's the case, but we do have Mark on today. Mark, do you agree that you haven't had a repeat event since that last work was done?
That's correct. Since the 27th.
Okay, that's great news. I'm hoping that resolved it. The other issues, though, Cindy, with Vail, they're still having transfer issues. So do you have an update on the transfer issues?
Vincent has been monitoring those and working with them, but it sounded like they were still looking like they were issues with the Avaya phone system.
Okay,
And
and
I think that's correct as well. And that, Vince and our IT have been working together on that. We haven't had an issue since the 6th.
were there changes done prior to the 6th, Mark, to address the latest transfer issues?
That I can't tell you today. I don't know.
Okay. Okay, well, hopefully that's the case. So please, Mark, just keep us informed to what's going on with both of those.
Yeah, will do. And thank you for all your help.
Yeah, well, we're going to hopefully not have to have a repeat issue on these. The EXFO probe replacement project.
Still on track. We'll spin that up once we're finished migrating all the stuff over. And once we have an order in for the new model of probe, I'm waiting for those to come in still. But once we have those in, we'll get you guys a list of which PSAPs actually need the expos replaced and start working with you on the schedule for that. But it should be no impact to the PSAP site. We just need a tech to be able to get into that back room and swap out those monitoring devices. But should have no impact on call processing. I mean, you shouldn't even know we're doing it other than someone had to come into the building.
Okay, great. And then the MLTS default routing.
Yeah, so we've updated the Grand Junction Montrose router. That seems to be going smoothly, as well as the Colorado Springs and Pueblo router. And that seems to be going smoothly as well with the default route going to Grand Junction and to Colorado Springs.
Okay, great. And then the one other item that we have that is not listed on here is a request that was made by Jennifer with Grand Junction about disconnecting their legacy 911 trunks. And so from a disconnect perspective, are you circling back with the PSAPs once they've migrated? Are you sending them emails or wanting them to contact you directly when they're ready?
I send an email the day they migrate, letting them know that when they're ready to have those circuits removed to let us know. And Jennifer sent that in, and the folks that processed that forgot to submit it. That's been resolved, and those circuits should be getting removed, Jennifer. But I do also stop billing on all of those elements the day that you migrate. So you should not have gotten billed once you migrate. That same day, I send an email to our team telling them to stop all those billing elements. So it should just be the physical equipment disconnect.
So do we have a date for when we're being disconnected then?
Let me look right. I think it was the 15th, but let me double check.
This is Annette. While Cindy's checking that, Kim put information in the chat for Boulder PD. It looks like they're trying to schedule for tomorrow or Friday.
Awesome. Thank you, Annette.
Yep.
So I guess for Patty and Bruce, if you can just look in the chat and then communicate with Kim Hegg about availability to get access to those PSAPs for scheduling those pad installations, that would be great.
Yeah, Kimberly, I just saw that.
a little late notice. We've got a lot of other things going on. I don't know if I can get anybody to let them in or not.
Understandable, Bruce. Okay, Cindy.
Jennifer, I see my last email was that the order was in, and as soon as they had an FOC date, they'd let you know. So, but I don't see an FOC date back on that, so I'm following up with them to get you that date.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, everyone. Those are the open items we are tracking right now on the ESInet. Does anybody have another open item that they are communicating with Lumen on that we're not tracking here? Okay, that is great news. So thank you for
Actually,
those.
Kimberly, this
okay.
is Mandy. I was trying to get my hand raised so that I didn't just cut in.
Perfect, go ahead.
I don't know if we want to track it or not, but we are having some issues that we've been working with, and not with regards to the ESInet, but with regards to the reporting. So more online with the Clearview and getting our reports. So initially, if you guys remember, after I had training, initially we kept showing up as Montrose County Sheriff's Office, yet that PSAP hasn't been around for a couple of years now. It looks like we probably got that resolved, and it shows up Western Colorado Regional Dispatch Center. However, myself at this point still can't get access. We're having some errors. Matt has access, but Matt also now has access, or maybe has always had access to Colorado State Patrol Montrose, which provides dispatch services for San Juan. So while that dispatch center is physically located in Montrose, it really has no direct tie-in, nor should Matt with METSA have access to their information. So it begs the question. It's a little concerning. It makes us wonder, and maybe I shouldn't say us, but I get used to that. It makes me wonder, A, does Entrado actually understand the PSAP configurations here in the Montrose area? B, if Matt can still see San Juan's data, why, and can we get that fixed? And C, if he can see San Juan's, then can Colorado State Patrol see ours, which we don't want that to happen either. So having some issues with that.
Okay. Mandy, so I'll work with Kim and team to look at that access information and make sure they have the right list of who belongs with which PSAP and just audit that whole list.
Okay, thank you.
That would be great. And I want to talk a little bit about reports as well on our agenda. Matt, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, but it's separate from this topic.
Okay. All right. So do you have just general open item issue then, Matt, for the ESInet?
Yeah, it's about the NRFs, and we're grateful for the change in the default routing to Grand Junction. That's probably a lot better scenario for the Western Slope. Cindy, you mentioned something earlier about NRFs should be going to the default center. So just to confirm, that means, for example, all of Wesco's NRFs are now going, NRF calls are now going to Grand Junction. Is that correct?
It should, yes.
Okay, so we're still seeing a number of NRFs in our monthly alley retrieval reports. And if they're not being processed, say, like they used to be through the selected router database, and they're not coming to our PSAP, how does your or Entrado's system know that they're our NRFs? And because they're going to Grand Junction, we have no idea that they're occurring. We begin, let's say, doing alley description, investigating and trying to get the problems fixed.
So I'll have to do some digging with the Entrado team. I'm guessing they know based on the numbers, generally where those calls belong. But the way the ESInet routes, it routes off of that 911 database. So if there's not a record in there, It default routes the call.
Right. Yep.
But as
So I think
far
this-
as normal at working in a no record found and trying to get that record built and how they know which PSAP to give it to, the magic of the data integrity unit, I have to ask some questions to get that information for you.
I think this presents a process problem for all of us that are not default PSAPs, default route PSAPs, because we're not going to see these calls to know that we need to, say, do an LEDR and try to have a problem fixed.
Hey, Matt, this is Jennifer.
Mhm.
We are working on, well, we implemented a process here at Grand Junction to track those. And I'm trying to get I'm trying to get a report stood up so that I can send no record founds that we take to the proper PSAP on a weekly basis so that you can track them. I haven't gotten, Jeremy's been busy and then he went on vacation, dang him. So I know, right? But
Yeah, right.
so as soon as he gets that report stood up, I intend to send those reports out every week, because we are tracking when we get those no record found calls and which comm center we're sending them to, so that we can then turn around and send you the information so you can follow up with the business to get those fixed.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I'm glad you guys are having the forethought to take care of that. I'm a little concerned about the week time frame. We try to hit those very quickly because the call record data seems to evaporate from Intrado's systems after a few days if we need to access that for deeper problems. And I know that's a staffing and time issue, so we're grateful for what you're doing either way.
Well, I'm happy to revisit that as well offline. So I want to make sure that we are doing the best we can to be responsive to the needs. And none of us knew how many we were going to get. And so weekly was a guess, but if we need to do it more often, we can do that.
Fantastic.
And I do believe there are some NRF reports available through the Clearview system that that may help out on this as well. So I'll dig into all of
I'll want to cross-reference the alley reports with what we hear from Jennifer and maybe what's in metrics and compare. And I'm still curious to see how it is that our alley retrieval reports lists NRFs that we're not seeing.
Yeah, that's curious to me too.
Yeah.
So Cindy, because that is a great question, I think we would all be interested in. So once you take a look at that, can you share with us what you have found?
Yes.
Okay, that's great.
Thank you.
Any other open items before we move on to the next discussion topic?
Kimberly, this is Bruce. I do have a couple of things on the PSAP abandonment unit for the sheriff's office in Arapahoe County. Cindy, has that connectivity been created for that pad, or does it use the standing connectivity with the ESInet to take care of that?
No, we put a circuit into the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office.
Okay.
So we needed a circuit, but that was put in a couple months back.
Okay, I vaguely remember Kathy saying, hey, do you know why CenturyLink is here to install a circuit? We didn't get any notice, of course, which is kind of the usual thing for CenturyLink when they're installing something. So I didn't know what it was for absolutely. And apparently they installed it in the data center rather than in telecom for some reason, which I'm not exactly sure why they would have done that, which is nowhere near telecom. Where the ESInet equipment is at. So I was confused about possibly being able to move that connectivity over to telecom, where the ESInet circuits drop.
Yeah, I'll check on that. We don't have ESInet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you don't have any ESInet circuits there. That's right. That's right. But there is a DMARC in the telecom room, so that'd be our preference to have it in that room, and then we'll extend it from there. But also Friday does not work for us. There is no one available at the sheriff's office to let anybody in.
Okay.
We need a little more notice than 2 days.
Okay. And Bruce, your question on Arapahoe County timers. I'm just going back to the look, but they should all be listed in the tracker here. So if anyone has questions on what your ring no answer timer is set to, it's in this the weekly tracker.
Oh, okay, thank you. And Kimberly, I just noticed on our pad, it says Arapahoe County piece backup. It's actually the primary PSAP.
Okay, great. Cindy, can you update that too? Hopefully it'll be off our tracker soon, but until then.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, any other open items? Great. Well, thank you everyone for the discussion. We want to make sure we're tracking and getting these items documented and so we can follow up on them. The next item on our agenda is the continued discussion next steps for ESInet text to 911. And if I recall where we left this was we tossed it to Lumen to say, we really need this call flow discussion to understand what it would take to be able to fold in text to 911 directly into the ESInet versus how it's being done today. So I think we were waiting for a date from Lumen. Am I tracking that correctly? Cindy, was that your understanding as well, that I think it was going to be one of your engineers that was going to discuss this and maybe do a presentation, and we wanted to get this on the agenda? If we can target April, the April ESInet user group, I think would be great, because by then we're going to have hopefully everybody migrated over, maybe a few stragglers with the bases, but I think it would be a great time to start that conversation. And a good place to start is just understanding what it would take for a TCC like Intrado to direct connect into the Lumen Intrado ESInet solution for a text to 911.
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Well, then we will put this on the agenda for April, and we'll go through our normal business. And so we'll just have an extended meeting at that time. So if you have any problems getting resources, Cindy, please let us know, but we'll just plan and schedule it accordingly.
Okay, will do.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to new business then. And the next item for new business is I wanted to bring up, and this is more a me issue. So hearing from other authorities and frustrations with Clearview reporting, specifically also with frustrations with it being outdated, using pop-ups and IE for access so it can be compatible, a compatibility view. There's some security questions. So Clearview has been a bit of a challenge across a lot of our users. So I'm wondering, what is the vision, and does Lumen have a vision for reporting tools in the ESInet? That would be my first question. And then the second question is, could we get ECATs tied into the ESInet to pull similar type of reports that you're offering today through Clearview? And then what would that take?
ECATs is definitely, I think, an option. It's an add-on option, so I'd have to take that back to the team to get you more details on that. And I know Annette is on and may be able to speak more to the next piece. But Intrado has been overhauling those reports and metrics for quite some time, and is in the process of rolling out, and I think in beta testing with us, the new version of that reporting. So that is on the short-term horizon, I think, to be able to give you access to the same type of reports, but in a new reporting tool and system that's a bit more user-friendly.
Does that resolve the browser issue, being able to use modern, more secure browsers?
I do not know the answer to whether it's supported on more than IE10.
Okay, so I guess from breaking this down then, I understand Intrado with Lumen is working on the Clearview update. And I say with Lumen because it's our ESInet tariff is with you. So it's kind of that, circular reporting relationship. So Entrada's working on a Clearview overhaul, and it may or may not resolve some of the security concerns that we have. And then the next question is about ECATs, and if we wanted to request Lumen to provide ECATs at the ESInet level, that's an item that you would have to take back and follow up on if it's possible. Am I understanding that correct?
Well, I do think ECATs is possible. I think it's not included in the current tariff agreement, so I'd need to take it back to the account and sales team just to investigate what it would take to add that.
All right, and we had another hand raised with Jeff.
Yeah, Cindy, is there any possibility that the developers who are doing this overhaul of Clearview would be interested in having a dialogue with the 911 community as to what their needs are as they do this overhaul?
The overhaul, I think, is nearly complete. So I will reach out and ask if there's any opportunity to provide additional feedback and user experience on it.
Yeah, that would be great if there was some mechanism for that.
And
sorry, Kimberly. Cindy, this is Annette. So, yeah, if you want to reach out to Kim, and I'm sure Kim could, work with you and put something together as far as the Clearview overhaul. What I understand is that to some, another application. We'll also address the browser concerns. I would hope, that moving to another application, we would have looked at some of the concerns, from our end user customers and address those. But why don't you get with, and let's see if we can't, have some time on this meeting next to give a debrief on it.
Absolutely, that'd be great. Thank you, Annette.
Sure.
And Cindy, do you know from other Lumen and Entrado ESInet deployments across the nation that you have what tools you're using for reporting solutions?
So that's ECAS and these Clearview reports are my understanding what we have for all of these ESInet implementation.
Great. If you could take that ECATS question as a follow-up and come back to us with an idea of what it would take and additional cost. I understand that we had one product that was specifically called out in the tariff. So if we could get an idea of what it would take, that would be at least allow us to have that conversation from an ESInet perspective.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments on ECATS or reports? I know that we've got some issues, and Cindy, you have a few action items that were brought forward about access, and you were going to go through and do a full audit.
Yes.
Okay, great. Any other reporting questions then? Okay, the next item is a report review, and we went through that last month, so I actually should have removed that from the agenda. I apologize, everyone. So then that moves us to item 7, which is open discussion. And this is an open floor for the voting members. Any concerns, questions from the authorities or PSAPs to Lumen that you want to bring forward? Jennifer.
I actually just have a quick question to find out who else is using the Viper system, because I'd like to ask them a question offline.
So Jennifer, we have it up here in Larimer County with all 5 of our PSAPs.
Arapahoe too.
Okay, I'll call one of you later. Thank you.
You bet. Anybody have any other questions or concerns for the Lumen team? Okay, Cindy, do you have any other items that you need to bring up with us that you need action on?
None at this time.
Okay. And then for those of you that are attending that are not part of the voting members, the floor is open to you if you want to bring anything forward for discussion. Okay, well, those are all the items that we had listed on our agenda today. So without any further business, we will go ahead and call for an adjournment at 10:55. So thank you everyone for getting on the call. We appreciate it and really appreciate the open dialogue with Lumen and team to tackle all of these deployments and the open items. So thank you everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone.